Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video, it is running here in the background. This is, in my opinion, probably the ultimate free-to-play full auto team for Hydra in the entire game. I think quite possibly. And let me say that again, full auto. This is very much full auto. I clicked play, I left it on record, and I walked away from my PC. And I left it going. There's no head targeting. There's no manual play whatsoever. Complete full auto. And not only is it complete full auto, but it is also incredibly consistent, incredibly successful. I actually ran this team 3 different times. I did swap out one champion once, and it came back with almost the same score every single time. So it's super consistent. And yeah, this has become, I think, it will be one of my most recommended teams. I'm going to explain it to you now how it works. This was very much inspired, by the way, by Bango in my clan. He has a similar team to this for Brutal Hydra, but it is a manual team. The difference being that it has much higher potential if you do that on Brutal, but it's harder to do. This version is inspired by his team, but it is much easier to run. It is just full auto. It's on hard, and it just goes, which is fantastic. So yeah, it is kind of insane. Also, you might see her on the far right, Vizix, guys. I think I need to make this. I think this needs to be perhaps a new theme of the channel, right? Like Saf sort of adopted Whisper. Whisper's like Saf's baby. Syl of the Drakes is very much Ash's baby. I think I need to make Vizix my baby because YST put out this poll just a week and a half ago. It has 9,000 votes. If you could keep one, would you rather have Syl of the Drakes or Vizix? And overwhelmingly, you are all wrong, which is shocking. I don't get it. Amazing. 79% of people are wrong and think Syl of the Drakes is better than Vizix. No, 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 no. That is absolutely not true. Vizix is going to be a star of today's run here in Hydra. And not only that, she's also absolutely insanely good for Doom Tower Hard. And yeah, Beast for Faction Wars as well. I mean, Syl's a Beast for Faction Wars too, but yeah, I've got them both. I've used them both. They're both in budget teams. Trust me, Syl of the Drakes basically sits in my vault right now. Vizix, she's coming into what I think is possibly the best Hydra team I've ever built. That says it all for me. But let's take a look at this. What is going on with this team? Well, I think a big theme of this team is speed, 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 right? We have increased speed from Razzlevar, from Lydia. We even have increased speed, though it's not important, from Mighty Uuko. That's a big theme of this. We've got the decreased speed from Vizix. It's one of the things that makes her so unbelievably good. AoE decreased speed 100% as a Void champion on a 3-turn cooldown. It's actually very rare. It's tough to get good decreased speed champions for Hydra. It's actually very, very tough. And in fact, they might have longer cooldowns. They might be affected by affinity. So like Shamrock is amazing, but it's a 4-turn cooldown for decreased speed. Lady Kimmy is amazing as well. It's a 3-turn cooldown, decreased speed, but she could have weak affinities and she could weak hit. So that's that, that can affect things. Same with Nekmothar. He's amazing, but it can have weak affinity issues. Usually not that much of a problem, but it's something worth noting. As a Void, Vizix brings it in super consistent. Vizix is also bringing us in an AoE provoke on a 3-turn cooldown, which is fantastic. Then if you put her in the best possible sets for this, which are either Relentless or Reflex, or I guess Impulse. I have her in Reflex in this run. Reflex is going to keep pushing her CDs down. So she's going to be A1ing much less than usual. She just did one there. Unfortunately, bad timing. Vizix ruining the showcase. But she's going to do her A1 much less often than she normally would. And she's going to be pumping out those AoEs a whole ton, which is really good. You might notice as well there, like we did a provoke AoE when the head was already provoked. Uuko, Mighty Uuko is going to be doing increased speed when everyone already has increased speed and nobody is dead. So we're going to be losing some efficiency by playing on full auto. So you can see, for example, right there, if we were doing it manual, that head wouldn't have got a cleanse, but because we are doing full auto, he is going to get the cleanse off. Guess what? Doesn't matter for this run. You're still going to be super successful. And you can see we're just firing shots into the head of Decay. We're still able to break champions free. Absolutely no problem. And in fact, it was Razzlevar who was devoured, who is the #1 damage dealer on this team. So that was one of the harder ones to break free. But yes, if you play this on manual, will you get more damage? The answer is definitely yes, right? You will get much, much better performance. Do you need to play it on manual, though? The answer is no. But it will be more consistent, right? You can target Lydia, her block buffs, onto respawned heads. That will make it more consistent. It will make it easier to gear. You can be smart about when you use your abilities. It's going to make it more consistent. Not essential, though. That's very important. So here we go. Let's see this. That's one thing I want to focus on. Let's look at Razzlevar next. So Razzlevar, he's bringing in a speed aura, which is great. He's going to go into one AoE. When we land a decreased defense weaken on these heads, I want to see stuff pop off. There you go. So he goes in with the A1. Did about 500,000 damage right there with that A1. Why is so strong about Razzlevar is, here we go. We've decreased defense, no weaken. He goes in. Like, Razzlevar is doing maybe, 500,000, even sometimes like up to 2 million per turn, depending on the debuffs and the buffs. He does insane damage. The thing about Razzlevar is he is insanely fast, right? He takes so many turns, and that's a big part of what we're doing at Razzlevar. I've built him really fast. He gets a crazy amount of extra speed from his passive. He has the speed aura, and we constantly have increased speed on. He just takes so many turns, and I've actually found this to be amazingly strong. It doesn't seem like he's hitting ridiculous. Like, I've got a Turvold. I used to use Turvold for this type of team. Turvold feels like he hits really hard. Shamail feels like he hits really hard. But Razzlevar, it just, like, look at that A1. He just absolutely shredded there. He's got increased attack. The debuffs are on. And he just absolutely shreds. Because he takes so many turns. The damage he puts out is insane. So he's our damage dealing star. He also brings us increased accuracy basically all the time. We could build our champions with lower accuracy if we want to. I haven't done that, but you could and get away with it, which is just insane. So yeah, he's amazing. He brings us leech as well, which is going to help us stay alive. He is the only source of actual healing on this team. Vizix, she's bringing us ally protection, which is going to help us easily stay alive. She brings the AoE decreased speed on the same move, and then the AoE provoke, so she's going to basically keep this head mostly locked down. We do have mighty Uuko. He is bringing us decreased attack, which again makes it more consistent. He also has a taunting set, provoke set, whatever it's called. I can't remember. I get so confused now between these buffs. But he's got a provoke set on. Which is sort of a backup, right? So when Vizix gets devoured, it just sort of makes it consistent. In fact, as you can see right there, Vizix would have broken free and provoked that head before he even got a turn anyway. It wouldn't have mattered. But yeah, Uuko's in there. Uuko also brings us block buffs, AoE, though we cannot do it on heads with buffs. So heads that have respawned and have this buff, he can't do it. Head of Wrath, when he has his damage buff on, he can't do it, for example. But yeah, bringing the buff strip makes it more consistent. The decreased accuracy he puts out makes it more consistent. The block buffs, he brings decreased attack, and he brings a backup revive. Again, I think if you played on manual, you might get away with it. But you would sometimes have some champions perhaps die. So like Razzlevar would be the one that might die sometimes if things line up badly. But again, if you played on manual and you had Lydia block buffs on him every time, you'd probably be fine. But yeah, just for full autos, consistency's sake, having Uuko in there who doing the revive just in case somebody dies makes it beautiful and consistent. And he's sort of a backup provoke as well, which is nice. We have Inquisitor Shamail built for damage, so he is in there slamming damage. And then we've got Mithrala. She is in giving us increased attack, giving us the shields and the strength and keeping us alive. And increased attack is what's boosting the damage so much of Razzlevar and Shamail. I actually don't have Vizix really built for damage, but you could push this further as well. You could build Vizix for damage, and the increased defense that Mithrala provides is going to make Vizix do even more damage, which is great. Lydia is in for even more increased speed, backup strengthen as well. So we're going to have strengthen nearly all the time. And yeah, she's going to come in and give us the decreased defense and weaken, which is going to up our damage a whole ton. But again, you can see here like a cleanse goes through. It's not quite perfect, but it still runs absolutely amazing. So yeah, like right here, it's just that level of safety from having Uuko. Again, not super needed, but give you an idea. Like Shamail's pretty squishy, right? So he can potentially die. Like right here, yeah, Shamail's fairly close to dying. I don't think he will, but yeah, he came very close, right? He came really close right there. So for example, that is where I like having Uuko as the backup champ. It's just, it gives you a level of safety, of comfort. It's cool. Basically, whenever any damage dealer takes a turn, they're going to full heal from the leech that Razzlevar puts out. It's kind of crazy. Let me show you the ultimate damage of this team. So let me skip on ahead because it keeps going, boys. It keeps going. Let's go to 200. Oh, here we go. So we actually, coming up to this, we're 220 about turn 186. We're just slamming. And this is where we start getting the turn limit, right? Which is pretty good. Like, this is pretty solid. Coming up 188. So we're taking a lot of turns. We're just really fast compared to the boss, right? We've such good speed control that we're just slamming in. By the way, again, there is some luck in this run. It's such a long run that the luck sort of evens out, but you could, in theory, keep spawning Head of Torment. You're going to get really good damage, but the run works just fine no matter what spawns in. Like I said, I got almost the same result every single time I ran this team. So there we go. You can see we go on up. So here we are, just to give you an idea, like we're above 200 turns on the boss. So this is where the Devour timer starts coming in fairly fast and furious. Or like it would if they were getting any turns. Like here goes Razzlevar once. Let's see. He's going to go again in just a second. There goes Razzle again. It's actually time. So him and Lydia are pretty close together. So he goes one. I guess they're actually going to be fairly in sync. Will he lap Lydia? No, not quite. Not quite. Almost. He almost lapped Lydia. But yeah, he's fast. He's super fast. Let's go again. So we move on. Here we go. Okay, we actually have a bunch of heads in this time. You know, so actually see some damage coming in. See some Devours perhaps. But like they're just barely getting to devour us. They're barely getting a turn. Almost all of these turns are our turns. So here we are. Let's see what happens. Like these poor heads just aren't getting a go. We're just absolutely running circles around them. There we go. He gets one turn. Head of Decay. Head of Torment is dead now. Head of Wrath lost what, 10-20% of his health almost before he got to take a turn. Razzlevar absolutely slamming the damage there on the A1. Huge damage. Shamael, huge damage. So like these heads are getting one, maybe two turns, and then they're dying, right? Let's see. Let's watch Head of Wrath. So we saw Head of Wrath. He spawned in. He got one turn. He's coming up to his second turn. He's almost dead, right? Which is just insane. Let's see. I presume. Okay, we can. Is he even going to get a second turn? He probably will. Oh, geez, maybe. Yeah, okay. He barely gets a second turn. And that's it. Like the head, they've got their one turn where they're almost immune, and then he's just dead. He's just dead. Just like that, he is dead. So let's see. We come in here and score at the end. By the way, we're keep on going, right? I mean, like, look at this. We're 14499 turns in, 275 turns on the boss. We're still going. Everyone is alive, full auto. No one is close to dead. 360 million damage. Okay. Took an hour, full auto, just leaving it run through. We hit the turn limit. What's the damage? Razzlevar, 136 million. Vizix, 39 million. Uuko, 13. Shamael, 95 million. Lydia, 16. And Mithrala, 58. You could push this higher. I think you could easily hit 400. I do not have Mithrala built for damage, or Lydia built for damage, or really Vizix super built for damage. You could easily upgrade their damage, and I think you could easily hit 400 million. Full auto, super guaranteed. It just absolutely eviscerates Hard Hydra. It doesn't even have a chance. Completely destroys it. Let me show you the builds. Let me show you how we are doing this. What is going on here? Let's look at Razzlevar first. Razzlevar and Vizix, I think being the stars of this in a big way, is so fun because they're such underrated champions. So Razzlevar doing all this damage, he's in crit damage and speed. He doesn't have Savage. He doesn't have anything like that. Crit damage and speed. Here's what we've done. We've tried to get his speed really high. 284. He has 6,000 attack, 296% crit damage. So for my accounts, this crit damage is really high. And the speed's really high. So yeah, that's what we've done. But in order to get that, I couldn't do that in Savage or Lethal or whatever. So we've just put him in like crit damage and speed, and we put him in good gear. Like he's got a random provoke chest that got triple speed. Brilliant. Let's go. Let's slam it out. So that is what he is doing. He actually has 2 blood shield accessories just because it gives him a massive shield. Doesn't really affect anything, so that's fine. For his masteries, we have him going down into War Master. So yeah, Giant Slayer is probably better for like Demon Lord clan boss single target with his A1, but he's spamming out his A2 and his A3 so much. I think War Master is actually more damage. And yeah, you're fairly flexible, honestly, with what you do with him. I have him down the support tree, but I don't think it super matters. The main thing really is just grabbing the War Master, and he's good to go, right? He is such an absolute beast. Insane. 136 million damage with no real sets, just stats, right? Just build the stats, and he's good. One thing I would like to improve with him, maybe getting his defense a bit higher. His defense is quite low in his HP, so he's pretty squishy, right? Doesn't really matter with Mithrala, but you know, he could die. It's possible for him to die. So that might be nice to make him a little bit tankier. Who's second on the list? Vizix, of course. So by the way, the way I have it set up is Razzlevar's the main damage is number 1. I have Vizix in slot number 2, which means that if Razzlevar gets eaten, she's just going to be pumping out her AoEs more often. Again, this would be even better if you built her for damage, right? She'll get boosted by Shamael. So that's what sort of the theory that is in there. And then on the off chance, Vizix never died from ally protection, but if she did, Uuko could revive her. But it's not hugely important. So where is Vizix? You know, it's faster if we just search it. I think she's maybe 2-star awakened. Vizix, there she is. Such a good champion. And she is not in a crazy build, guys. So I have her in Reflex. 40% chance to reduce a random skill. This is really good. I think Relentless would be even better. But the idea is we just want to make her moves more consistent because these moves are so good. AoE decrease speed, ally protection. AoE provoke on a 3-turn. These moves are insane. It's so good. But her A1 sucks for Hydra, right? She steals turn meter, but you can't steal turn meter from Hydra. So her A1 sucks for Hydra. That's fine. We have her built with good speed, 255. That's sort of the key. Good speed, enough accuracy. Again, you could probably be lower. Because you're getting increased accuracy, you could probably drop it loads. She's 122% crit rate, guys, which is totally silly. So in a perfect world, I think I'd be, you know, upper speed more, lower that crit rate, or you could like upper crit damage the whole time. Like if I got her in way higher crit damage, she'd put out much more damage, and that would be brilliant. Be fantastic. And again, Relentless would be ideal, but this works just fine. So like she's got a broken set boot. That's ascending with speed. Actually has tons of defense. So yeah, getting her fairly tanky is quite nice as well because she does take a big chunk of damage from ally protection. It will just help her survive, but it's not super essential. And for her masteries, again, War Master is the main thing. And then I do have her just extending the decrease speed just in case, you know, just making the decrease speed a bit better. I did give her Evil Eye just for Faction Wars, honestly. But you could go Cycle of Magic if you wanted it to be a bit more consistent. You could go like Cycle of Magic, Lasting Gifts to make her ally protection more consistent. Stuff like that. Whatever you want. I did give her Shield Bearer to make her shield that she gives herself when she provokes a bit stronger. And give her Life Drinker so that she'll just help stay alive if she goes low. But she didn't really need those things, honestly, for hard. Next up was Uuko, wasn't it? So the mightiest Uuko. He is coming in a provoke set, so backup provoke, 30% chance to provoke. We actually do not have him anymore in Fearsome Presence. I felt like I did, but apparently I don't. I do have him in War Master. Honestly, like this team is so strong. Like, yeah, he'll lose all that damage. Like, if we look at that, 13 million. Like, he'd lose 13 million damage from ditching War Master. He might do like, I don't know, 2 million or something. I'd say at least 10 million is War Master. Like, you could ditch that and just give him Fearsome Presence, and he'll be a better backup provoker, and he'll be better for Arena as well. So I might actually switch him back, honestly. Might switch him back to make that provoke and polymorph more consistent. That's something I might just do, believe it or not. But yeah, Uuko, he's pretty sick. So the goal with him is high speed, tanky, and good accuracy. It's quite important. It's tough to get him super tanky, honestly, because high speed, high accuracy and provoke set. This is quite intensive in terms of gear, but if you can get him something like this, he's going to be amazing in both Arena and in Hydra as well. We've got Shamael. So I've rebuilt my first Shamael, and he's not quite perfect, but this Shamael, he's in sort of random sets, right, to get the stats. He would do a lot more damage with Reflex. Reflex is the way to go, because this move is where all of his damage really comes from. And it's got 3, so it's only active move. So Reflex would really up his damage. So that's something for me to come in and rebuild at some point. with the reflex gear, but he's coming in with 5,000 attack, 255 speed, 294% crit damage. Again, you give him reflex and you could drop those stats a good bit, and I think he would still out damage himself doing that. So yeah, he's just a pure damage Shamail at this point. You might be asking, do we have a mischief tank in this team? No, not really. So Mithrala and Lydia kind of can, but I mean, we honestly do so much damage and we've got so much speed control. We just wipe out Head of Mischief before it can even really do anything. And worst case, it steals some buffs. Uuko can remove a good few of them. So it's just not really a problem. Honestly, it's just not really a problem. With Shamail, we do have him with Giant Slayer, which is going to make him, just do more damage overall. The Giant Slayer, this would be even better if you gave him Reflex set, because he'd be doing his A2 more, which is a triple hit. Giant Slayer procs off of his counterattack, so it does a bit more damage. War Master, though, is very similar, so you can honestly kind of do whichever you prefer. It's not a huge deal. Next up, we had Lydia. Let's get Lydia. Lydia, I remember she's not... I've just never got a soul for Lydia. So Lydia's coming in. We're extending her buffs and debuffs, and we're giving her War Master. I do think probably with Lydia you prefer Life Drinker, but hey, it's up to you, really. And Lydia is in a bit of a random build. She's like really high resist and really high speed, and that's kind of it. To make her stronger for this particular team, you'd build up her attack, her crit rate, her crit damage more. I do like the resistance being high. For hard, I think you need about, I don't know, what is it? Probably like 450, not even. Probably 410 resistance is totally fine, because Head of Mischief not even taking that many turns, right? 460-ish to be super safe, but I don't think you need to be super safe. So we're way, way overkill on that here. Yeah, high speed, just pumping out the decreased defense and weaken. Lydia can actually do pretty decent damage, so she's worth building for damage. Like I said, War Master is doing most of it. And then, yes, Mithrala, finally. My Mithrala right now, I've been tinkering around with a Mithrala build. I have her in Bolster at the moment for Arena, trying that out with some reaction pieces. But Mithrala's coming in 269 speed, tanky, and, okay resist, decent accuracy. It's fine. So I don't know, I've got kind of mixed feelings about this sort of build. There's a lot of different ways to build Mithrala. If you're focusing just on Hydra, get her 100% crit rate, give her crit damage and high defense, and she's going to slam. It's going to be so easy to get enough accuracy resistance on her. And because of her passive, it's super easy. I'm trying out Bolster for Arena, but you can sort of do whatever. And for her Masteries, again, sort of an Arena type build. For Hydra, War Master is obviously the way to go. So she would do a lot more damage with War Master and with damage. I don't know. I might change her up at some point. I'm sort of 50-50 on using her in Arena. It's tough to know. I bet I would change her. And then this polymorph change in January that I think is intended will come through. And then I'll be like, wait, I want to bring Mithrala back in. Yeah, there you are. To give it some context as well, guys. 360 million damage on hard is equal to 270 million on brutal, or 180 million on nightmare. And it gives you 720 Hydra Clash points. So like if we come down here, 721 million Hydra Clash points. I've done enough for a top chest, right? If we come first, second, or third, I'm going to get a top chest. Brilliant. Cool. With one single fight, and we're done, which is pretty cool. Again, to put it in context as well, Chunk here, I don't know if he did this key full auto or not, but with this key, like we've got a +2 Trunda, we've got a Taurus, we've got +1 Duchess, a Krisk, right? We've got an insane team here. And very similarly, like this is a cursed Krisk, right? It's Savage Trunda, Savage Taurus. He's done about the same damage. This team is, the synergy is so strong, right? It's crazy. Like Razzlevar is literally insane. With damage Shamail, the combo is just nuts, and Vizix is just perfect. So about 270 on Brutal. So again, in Brutal, it would be performing. This is actually a very similar type of team where we've got like the Shamail, the Mithrala, speed control, very sort of similar. So very similar to this team from Roots. We actually outperformed in terms of Hydra Clash points. This team, which is like with a Grisor and stuff, which is insane. We're beaten. This team is better than us, right? This team got more points. And again, this is an insane team with like a Newt, Michinaki, Harima. So it's really good. In Nightmare, we're being absolutely smashed, right? Acrisia is going to absolutely destroy you. So we're going to lose to all of the Acrisia teams. This is even not an Acrisia team. This is really good too with Grisor. Newt Michinaki, beautiful. But like from Nightmare, again, we're doing about 180 million points on Nightmare equivalent with this team. So we're able to beat like a team with some +4s and so on, which is, you know, kind of nuts, right? So yeah, I honestly, I love this team. I think this team is insanely good. I straight up think this team is insanely good. I think you could push this to 400 million. Could you switch out any of these champions? I guess is a final question. I'm sure you could. It's a little bit awkward though. I mean, like, there's really strong synergies built here. Well, I did try Kantra the Cyclone instead of Vizix, and it worked almost the same. But Vizix did better overall. The Vizix team did slightly better overall. Kantra is not as consistent with her decreased speed, and yes, while she provokes, you know, on her turn, it's not 100%. Vizix, for the most part, it works well enough, right? Vizix is basically going to lock him down, and Vizix does more damage very easily than Kantra as well. Because she's got 2 AoEs at War Master. It's just stronger. So yeah, for this team, I found Vizix was actually better. But you could use Kant, but I mean, Kantra's harder to get than Vizix. But yeah, that's what's so strong about this team, right? Vizix, login champion, Lydia Mithrala from Faction Wars and Hydra, got an epic champ, and then we've got 2 fusions from the last year or so. I guess Uuko slightly over a year now. You could potentially replace Uuko. Like I said, going without the revive is a little bit more risky. I mean, you could stick in like that dude from Doom Tower, the Doom Tower epic, like Rian the Conjurer. Wouldn't be as good, but it would give you the buff removal and would give you a revive if you were stuck, but wouldn't be anywhere near as strong as the Uuko. Where you could bring in maybe something like an Uuko and give you just like the block buffs more consistently and even more healing. That could work as well. Honestly, maybe Wukong would even work for consistent block buffs, and Wukong would do crazy damage here too. Again, the sort of only issue would be if Razzlevar or Shamail were to die, which is possible. You wouldn't have a revive, so you might need to run the key a few times. Uuko is nice because he just makes it just, I press play once, I leave it go, I come back in an hour, and it's done. That's it done for the week. So yeah, there we go. 360 million. I think it's probably the best team so far. This one was really fun. Shout out to Bango for inspiring it. And shout out to probably a lot of you viewers who are the same viewers for YST. Thanks for voting for Sylvan the Drakes, which also inspired me as well to really focus in and try and make a Vizix team because she is so good. I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.